Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Dramatic Dream Dragons podcast here on the 5-Star Network. I am, as always, your host, Sondre, and we are a podcast all about Dragon Gate and DDT. And with me today, I have Yannik and Dylan. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome on this good day for DDT.
Yeah, so we are doing an instant review of the King of DDT final night here on a Sunday morning for me and Yannik, and like it's the Saturday night for Dylan.
It's
The
only
show-
1:30 a.m. here. It's nothing I have to deal with. I'm not gonna go in. This is my zone. I've stayed up for all kinds of shows for Japanese pro wrestling. That's what you do
Hell
when
yeah.
you are not in Japan and watching Japanese pro wrestling. So I'm ready.
Hell yeah. So we are, of course, going to talk about the King of DDT final night, which happened in Corkin Hall today on the 21st of May. But first, I need to just plug something, probably the most important thing I will ever plug, because it is a cause that is very meaningful to me. It is a cause that is very meaningful for the entire wrestling scene in Japan, and even some stuff out of wrestling in Japan, TV, a kind of thing. So on Tuesday this week, on May 23rd, there will be the Hana Kimura Memorial Show, because it will be the 4th anniversary of her very tragic death. Hana Kimura was very important to me personally. It is always a show that brings you a good celebration of her life. And they are doing it again. Kyoko Kimura is doing it again, this time calling it Pinks. The first time they did it was in 2021, which was the year after she died, on the same day, May 23rd, and that was Matinee. Then it was Sbadoosh last year in 2022, and now it's Pinks. So these shows are in Corkin and are produce shows that celebrate Hana Kimura's life and career, and all the proceeds made from the show go to help Kyoko Kimura's battle to make sure that what happened to Hana never happens to anyone ever again. So it's a very important cause that I want everyone to be able to give money to, because it is so important that what happened to Hana never happens to anyone else again. I just had to say that at the start of the show, because it's a very important case to me, because it's a death that affected me so much.
It's a really good card too that they put together. There's lots of cool stuff on there. I think anybody who watches it will be treated to a good show, but just the heartfelt wholesomeness of it all, and the fact that it's helping Kyoko, most importantly, I think that should inspire everybody to want to give it a look and check it out, support what she's got going on. A terrible situation that she's been put through in her life, but she's doing her best to make the best out of it for herself, Hana's memory, Hana's friends, obviously, and fans as well. So that's something very noble and admirable. So God bless Kyoko Kimura, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And even if you didn't knew Hana when she was still on the surf, you'll get a great show out of it, a really emotional show. Please buy it on Fight. It's only like $15.
So yeah,
it's a real important thing, so please support it.
Yeah, I'll run through the card just as a plug. A battle royal to celebrate her life. A lot of people from all over the place, freelancers. Some highlights are Fuminori Abe, Hanako Nakamori, Shihiro Hashimoto, and Mensure. That's the biggest highlights I find in the battle royal. Then a special singles match between Sayori Ano and Miyuki Takase. That is a very big Joshi match. If you don't know who either of those two women are, they are two of the best Joshi wrestlers you can find. Then
That's
a
a
6-woman.
50-minute rod if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
I also, if you're a fan of TJPW, Takase had a great match with Yamashita, Miyu Yamashita in America. You may have known her from there.
Yeah. Then there's the Who's the Strongest Aniki battle, which means Who's the Strongest Big Brother. This might have been changed. The teams might have been changed because Shotaro Ashino got injured, so they haven't announced who's going to team with Matsu Hanabata in this match. But they are going to face Ryo Mizunami and Sonuko Kato and Koji Katsumoto and X. And they are going to face Koji Kato. It's a 4-way tag match. Koji Kanemoto is back wrestling, which is weird. And he's teaming with X, and it's versus Yuki Miyamoto and Ram Kaijo also. So that's the 4th team.
Ozaki is teaming with Hanabata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then we also have, this is, if you watch Stardom, this is a very Stardom match. Because Konami, Rina, and Kaori Yanayama, also known as Fukigen Death, or Death Yamasan, they were members of the Tokyo Cyber Squad with Hana, so they are former teammates of Hana Kimura's faction in Stardom.
Yes,
and they are going to face...
Kaori is announced. It's not Yamasan.
Yeah, it is Kaori Yoneyama announced. And they are going to face Shuri, Natsupoi, and Asuka Bene, that is a very big 6-woman tag, which is going to be so good. And just Tokyo Cyber Squad reuniting again is awesome. And then the supposedly semifinal or main event. These two last matches are either the main event or the semifinal. But they haven't announced what yet. Maika Iwata of Sendai Girls teaming up with Miyu Momono of Marvelous versus Asha Kong. Yes, the Asha Kong from All Japan Women's Wrestling, and Sarai, also known as Ray from WWE, who spent 2 years locked in the NXT dungeon. And that is probably going to main event or be the semifinal, and then the main event or semifinal is Sakura Hirota cosplaying as Hana Kimura in a very wholesome way versus X. So that is a show that you can find on Fight TV. As Yannik said, it's only like $15. There's no excuse not to buy this show. It's happening on May 23rd, the 4-year anniversary of Hana Kimura's death, and I had to plug it. It is such an important show for me, and I hope, if you're listening to this, I hope you buy the show. Now, let's talk about this fun and loving company, DDT Pro Wrestling, who today had the King of DDT final night in Corkin Hall, live on Wrestle Universe, 1 hour ago, since the show ended. And yeah, how do you guys feel about the show as a whole before we talk about any of the matches and stuff? Dylan.
To me, coming off of the show and really just the whole tournament itself, I really felt like this was all together. And after what we saw with the show, there was some stuff that maybe not everyone will love, just in terms of some things. And obviously, an injury we'll talk about that wasn't the greatest, obviously. But by the end of the show, when everything had ended and the dust had settled, I really thought that this whole thing was a big step in the right direction from where DDT's been in the past long while, I would say. It feels like we had a very emotional win that you wanted to have the spirit of the company represented. And I think they totally accomplished that with the final. And I think the whole tournament was really good. I thought the show here was a really good show. This was one of the better DDT shows, top to bottom, that I can remember in quite some time, to be honest. I think they really feel like they're coming off of this tournament with some good momentum. And, there's a lot to talk about with the winner. But I definitely came away positive thoughts after the show.
Wrestling wise, there's some real spectacular stuff here. Also, like DDT wise, there's also stuff I'm not thrilled about. But overall, that really dwarfs in the greatness of some other things we got here.
Yeah, so this, of course, was the final night of the King of DDT, and the tournament, the two first rounds, which we reviewed last week, were so, like, it was such a step in the right direction after what was the Mega Max Bump main event, which kind of soured me a lot on DDT, but then the King of DDT first and second round really brought me back and got me hyped again. And this kept that hype going because I really felt really invested in this show. The two opening matches especially was so, like, such a great wake up. Of course, this was at 4 a.m. in the morning for me and Yannik, so we woke up to this show, and it was fun. We don't have the exact attendance because, again, the show ended 1 hour and a half ago, and they haven't released that yet.
Poor Olaf has 677 listed, which is
Okay.
really small.
That could be the that could be it, but it felt bigger than that though. I mean,
the last Kurken show I've seen was the Himeka farewell, which was packed.
yeah, that was packed.
So
Yeah.
it's a big step down from that.
Yeah, we have Weekly Pro 677. So
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So that isn't a good number for DDT, but it's a normal number for DDT. Like they don't normally run that much in Korakuen, which is sad. It is what it is. But the energy of the crowd, at least in the opening match, was really good. Which the opening night match was the King of DDT semifinal match between Kazusada Higuchi and Yuki Ueno, which ended when Kazusada Higuchi won with a brain claw slam after a great opener. The energy these two set in the opener was so good, and it kept going until the Domination Tag. But it was a great energy that really woke me up. What do you guys think about this opener?
kick us off, Yannik.
No, please go first. I need to organize my thoughts a bit.
Well, to me, I thought it was a really strong match. I really thought that these two have pretty surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but pretty good chemistry together here. Last year's match they had for the title, I think everyone can point to. I think that this one had a really good vibe to it. It felt like a match where they really had a good sense of urgency trying to get to the finals as well. They made it feel special and important to actually get to the final of the tournament, which is, I think, the main thing you want out of this. But I think Higuchi, I mean, he was on a next level to me here, not just in this match, but the whole, obviously, the final as well. He felt like he solidified himself as, like, the wrestling guy of the promotion, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, if you want the in-ring stuff, Higuchi is the guy, and I think that he solidified that.
It was really cool, the story of this match, because both wrestlers' tournament was quite different. Because Higuchi had to face like two juniors, or like two people with less experience than him in Yusuke Okada and Yuki Ishida in the tournament, and Yuki Ueno had to face two very tenured freelancers on the scene, and two wrestlers who have been wrestling are like veterans in Kotaro Suzuki and Naruki Doi. So it was they both had like very different roads to this match, and I really liked that story of the match, just going into it on paper. And then they kept such an intense pace that it was so fun. And yeah, this is the second best match of the show, in my opinion. And it started Higuchi is an undeniable and an undeniable monster, and that energy kept going until the King of DDT final.
Yeah, this match was terrific. And it really, I liked how they showed that they are intimately familiar with each other. Because like the last singles match they had was half a year ago.
Yeah.
And this was just kind of a condensed version. And I probably prefer it to the
same.
title match.
I prefer this over the title match they had at the end of last year.
They just picked up where they left off.
Yeah.
And yeah, you said that the way to this point for both men was really different. And Higuchi going over kind of surprised me, but obviously with the way it, I wouldn't be complaining in any way, and with the way it turned out,
yeah,
they did it to perfection.
And the way Higuchi just stopped Ueno from hitting the VR was so creative. It is something you should absolutely go out of your way and watch. And yeah, that energy kept going after Higuchi won that when they moved over to the next semifinal, Yuna Akiyama versus Chris Brookes, which ended with Chris Brookes hit the praying mantis bomb on Akiyama after a great, very unique match that kept the energy going after the opening match. It was so fun to see Akiyama be like very aggressive. It wasn't like dragging it out work he did. He was very aggressive and like kept always going, like trying to get the win and hitting big moves and stuff like that. And it was so fun to see. And then Chris, in the end, surprisingly won, and it surprised me because I expected them to go back to the rivalry of Yuna Akiyama and Higuchi in the final after Higuchi won, but no. And yeah, this started a great night for Chris Brookes also. What do you guys think about this, Yannik?
Again, totally different match to the first one.
Yeah.
And Uncle June was mean. The way he wrestled, I totally believed he would be winning here. And obviously, I picked him for the tournament in our last show.
Yeah.
And the story was just Chris surviving.
Yeah, which would turn out to be a story at the end also.
Yes, the thing here is that he was just way more in it, and like it was still like already like a surviving of Jun Akiyama, but he still had more agency in this match. But yeah, Akiyama beat him up real well.
Yeah, what did you think about this then?
I didn't love it when it happened, and I like it even less after the main event because the main event was like such a better version of what they were trying to do here. I didn't think this was a great match, to be honest with you. I didn't.
Okay.
It's not like I hated it, but I thought it was a significant downgrade from the Higuchi and Ueno match. You know, Brookes is kind of an interesting guy. Akiyama's a really interesting guy because I really haven't been too impressed with him this entire year, to be honest. And I didn't think like you compare him to Higuchi in the main event, I think it's like a different planet, and it's kind of it makes me unhappy to see because Akiyama's like when I did the best wrestler ever voting, God, 7 years ago now. You know, there was a big list of greatest wrestler ever's. He was in my top 10 in 2016. That's how high I rank him of any country, Japan, you know, England, whatever, America, Mexico. He was in my top 10, like one of the greatest ever to me. And that's kind of, it's hard for me to see somebody with that high level be what he is today, which is ultimately, I just don't think he's very interesting anymore. And maybe it's just the environment. And I don't know.
I thought he brought it in this match.
It is
because I totally agree with what you say, but today he was. I saw that Akiyama we got like 3 years ago again.
It is important to note that Yuna Akiyama is also 53 years old.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a thing consistent with me and my entire history. If anybody's listened to the Eastern Lariat, if there's somebody that's an all-time great and they go down and lose it, and they maybe aren't that good anymore, I really don't carry nostalgia for them. It actually makes me harder on them, kind of, because
Yeah.
I don't like seeing people like that, like lose. I want to see these people I hold in this high regard be like average. Like that makes it harder to me than just a regular average guy. And to me, I didn't think he was anything special in this match, to be honest. And again, that really, I feel like my vision of this match was totally reinforced by the main event, which was like so much better and like in a very similar style. Like, and I just think that
Oh, yeah.
Higuchi was so much better than he was, and I just, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like it was some terrible match. There's nothing I can point to that I was like, Brookes sucked here, Akiyama was terrible here. It just didn't grab me at all.
I thought definitely that Chris was the star of this match.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Chris made sure that this match made us believe that he could win in the end.
Yeah.
And the kick out from the Exploder suplex was so good. It was one of my biggest pops on the show because I didn't expect it. I thought that was the finish. Yeah. But
the thing was also that at least I saw that. Obviously, Dylan didn't. That Akiyama wrestled with an edge here. That I was totally believing that he'd make the final.
Yeah, that is true.
And I had predicted Brookes to make the final.
Yeah, you're the only one.
Yeah, both me and Yannik predicted that Yun would win this. So, but what I can say about this match was that it was definitely way better than the next match. Burning Tetsuya Endo and Kotaro Suzuki versus Damnation TA, Daisuke Sasaki, and MJ Paul. For the life of me, I can't remember anything that happened in this match.
Yeah. Instead of talking about this match, I want to plug the second dark match of this show.
Okay.
It was a 10-man, and it was hilarious. Kazuki Hirata closelining people left and right to the beat of Tokyo Go is
that was the only thing I saw of that match. Like I saw the last bit of that match, so because that was when I came into the show. But I didn't watch any of the other dark matches. I think it was a Pheromones match or something.
Yeah, the other was a Pheromones match. But this 10-man I can totally recommend.
Dylan, do you remember anything from Damnation TA versus Burning? Your favorite, Daisuke Sasaki.
I definitely know that it happened.
Yeah.
Did I pay close attention to it to even remember? No. So saying I don't remember it may be not totally factual. It may be I just wasn't paying attention when it happened the first time.
The big thing I remember about this match was that Tetsuya Endo at the end of the match had the mic in his hand because he won. So at the end of this match, Endo said that he needs to know who is the mystery man, who is this important mystery man that is gonna challenge him for the universe title at Peter Pan on July 23rd. And he asked the GM, where is the reveal? You promised that the reveal was going to be today. And it ended up being after the VTR showed the indie god with 2 million Twitter followers, which, first of all, you can't be an indie god and have over 1 million Twitter followers. That is factually incorrect. You can't be independent then. Like you are not in indie anymore then. It was Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder in WWE. So this is a former Intercontinental title holder, former US title holder, and former tag champ in WWE. If you don't know who it is, I don't blame you, because this is a guy that was a jobber for all of his life in WWE, and when he left WWE, he spent a couple of years just doing nothing. Then he suddenly got this big push on the GCW independent scene, which was weird, and somehow people got really hyped about that. So yeah, this is Matt Cardona. He's coming to DDT and facing a Tetsuya Endo on Peter Pan on July 23rd. Very lame. A very lame guy, but it was very expected.
I have to cut him some slack here.
Okay.
Because when this guy, like, he was always a jobber. He got himself over hard, but that was before my wrestling time. And then in 2016, he won the Intercontinental Championship on WrestleMania in that ladder match.
Lost it the day after, if I remember.
Sure, he did. Man, that was so great. And when he left, like, it was pretty soon after that he touched down in GCW. You may remember the infamous flying pizza cutter.
Yeah. All the beer cans getting thrown at him.
Yes. But he played his role perfectly in that. And that's a talent that one must have. Like, it's very few people that have it. And, you know, his wrestling was serviceable at times. Now, is he the right choice for DDT?
No.
Not sure. Yeah, well,
I mean,
you would say no anyways.
I'll say no because I want my secondary title to have a better match than Matt Cardona versus Tetsuya Endo. Dylan, what do you think about this? You're a big fan of the American indie scene, so I'm sure you will have something to say to this.
Like, this is my zone, the indies. What Yannik said is true. His story in WWE is that he was a jobber for a long time, and basically he was so unimportant that they just, and remember, this was like 2009, 10, 11, before they did all this kind of stuff that they do now. He was so unimportant that he just said, hey, let me do a web show. And they let him do his web show, Long Island IZ, and then he got over. Like, for some reason, everyone loved it. Again, this was still like new technology at the time. I
And
think
he
they might have
got punished for getting over. That was the best part.
yeah, and then they buried him for it, of course, because he got so over. He got like a U.S. title win, and then eventually he got buried, as you said. Then they came back. He literally did nothing for like 5 years until what Yannik mentioned, him winning the title at WrestleMania, which was completely out of the blue. I remember that match. Like, nobody knew that. Like, they just thought he was a guy, because they love doing that in WWE. If there's a big show, there's a match with everybody out of like 8 guys. Like, they do it pretty much every year at WrestleMania, and everyone thought he was just a filler dude, and then he actually won, and it was like unreal, kind of. So then he left. He stuck around for a couple of years after that. He probably stuck around, a long time, because they, I mean, when did he hit the Indies? Maybe like 2 years ago, maybe 2-3 years.
2020.
Yeah, 2020.
2021.
Oh, 2021. Okay, so two years ago about.
He was one of those that got released during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he held around for a long time, doing basically nothing. And then he done this thing again where, kind of a modern update to what he was doing, to where now he's kind of super over on social media, getting his name out there and stuff. I remember they did it.
They made sure to show in the VTR. They showed his 2 million followers. That was very important bit of the VTR.
And that's really what he brings to the table more than anything, is that he's a guy, like a master, like self-promoter, pretty much.
Yeah.
Remember the angle they did where in GCW, all that beer can stuff, he hit the paradigm shift, and everyone thought it was Moxley, but then he revealed the hood and it was actually him, and that made everybody go crazy.
Yeah.
And it kind of jump-started his modern indie run, which again, like you said, is basically, you know, GCW and maybe some lesser known indies.
NWA.
Impact as well. He is an
Oh.
Impact guy. I know that he reformed his original team, the Major Brothers, with Brian Myers too. So he basically has to hang out with his buddy. They're known for collecting action figures too. I don't know if y'all ever had any action figures. I'm not really a big collector myself, to be honest, so I don't really have a lot of stories about that. But he's just kind of this like anomaly in the in the wrestling scene almost. Like there's nobody else quite like him. As a wrestler, he's not bad if you're a fan of like WWE mid card style of 10 years ago. You know, he was probably pretty good at that era. He's better than your, you know, Ted DiBiase Jr.'s or whoever else was around in that era. But he's not somebody he doesn't have a lot of electrifying moves. He's not like a method.
Him and Tetsuya Endo is not the like the style. I don't think they can work that well. As I think if they wanted to have Matt Cardona have a shining match in his debut or something for DDT,
they don't care about his wrestling. I mean, they care about the 2 million subscribers.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, for someone if we are looking at this for what would have been the better match, kind of, it would like probably Shunma or Mao or someone that works kind of a hardcore style and can kind of bring Matt Cardona into that world could get that to be a very entertaining match. Endo versus Matt Cardona sounds very like empty to me. I don't know. It's a very big mismatch.
I'll take him over a lot of these other guys that they brought in recently for DDT.
I mean, I would take him over Joey Janela.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And those kind of our options. You know, it's not like they're bringing in some hot AEW guy. It's going to be either him or a Janela type of person.
But they have the opportunity to bring over AEW guys because of the work.
They're not going to do that.
AEW is going to let them.
I really think it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
it's Endo. Who is like it's Endo on top of it. That's another issue. It's like who can they realistically bring in that's gonna like have a great match with somebody like him?
I don't know.
It would have to be some extreme high flyer person, maybe, if they did. I don't even know who they would did when they worked on those GCW shows. It's not like anybody really like captured our imaginations like on those shows.
And it's not like Endo worked that good that people watching the match would want to wrestle him in the future at those GCW DDT shows during WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, I mean, in the end, this match is just going to be a match on the card. I just hope it doesn't get placed too high on the card, and it's between like two very great matches, so that this can kind of just be a calm down match or something like that. As long as they don't put that much importance into this, I am totally fine with it.
This will just be an okay match with some fun bits beforehand.
You'd have to think that's, you know, second, third from the top.
Yeah.
Hopefully after a very hot like tag title match and before the main event.
Well, that's a topic we'll cover later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But what was really funny about this was Endo's reaction, because he, like, first of all, he looked very disgusted when he saw who it was, and then he asked who the hell is like, no matter like, he was basically no selling him and saying that DDT it wasn't worth having him come over because he's just really expensive and not that good, which was basically his point, and he made that point even more clearly when he quote retweeted his tweet. But yeah, Tetsuya Endo, I wish you luck, and Matt Cardona, I hope you get over. No, I don't hope you get over. I don't want to see you back here. But this should be interesting. Whatever. Moving on to Mao teaming up with the D-Generation boys of Yuya Kuruku, Takeshi Masada, and Toyo Kojima facing the veteran team of the KOD Openweight champion Yuji Hino, Harashima, Naruki Doi, and Sanshiro Takagi. This was a very fun 8-man tag that had, like, it served just as a 8-man tag to have on the card, but it was still really fun. The finish was Hino tapping out both Yuya Kuruku and Toyo Kojima at the same time with the King Kong Sleeper, and I thought that was an awesome finish. What do you think about this 8-man tag?
What do you think, Yannik?
This was a fun match. Nothing that really stuck, but the finish, and I love it.
The finish was really great.
Yeah, to me, I thought this was like a perfectly solid mid-card match, especially for DDT. You got a little bit of everything in a relatively, decent amount of time. It wasn't like this dragged on for 20 minutes. It was like a 10-minute match.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of everything, everybody, and like you said, Hino going after Kuruku with this Dragon Sleeper was like really good.
I also, Sanshiro Takagi has just been really fun this year. It's weird. He has been way more engaging in all the like matches he has had this year than he has had in past years. And I think it's been really fun to see. Like him and Mao had this really great sequence in this match, where like they kept Mao kind of did an awesome like stunner on him. Doi and Mao was also awesome in this match. Like Mao is just awesome. That is the big thing about this. And yeah, it was interesting to see the two rookies like team up on the champion at the end of the match, and that was, and it of course led to the finish of him tapping out the Young Boys. And then we move over to the Extreme title match. Piercing death match is the rules of this match, which is the match can be won by pinfall, tap out, KO, TKO, or by piercing your opponent's ear 3 times. So this was Shunma Katsumata making his first defense versus Hideki Okatani, and man, what a match! This was a great like deathmatch brawl that saw Okatani do some wild stuff that he has never done before, like going through like staples and all that, and all like he came out. First of all, he came out with the like really extreme gear look, with like ripped pants, and he looked almost like Jay White.
Yes, it was Switchblade gear.
Yeah.
Also, bleach blonde hair.
Yeah. Which, by the way, before the show, he said that he was the new look, the blonde hair look, was gonna go away when he made Shunma bleed so much that all his blood made his hair red again, made Okatani's hair red again, which was awesome. A awesome promo at the start of the show. But yeah, I think this was a very great performance by Okatani. It's a shame that it ended a bit earlier because at one point Shunma got thrown through a board between the barricade and the ring, and it seems like his foot might have gotten twisted by that or dislocated. Because when, like right after that, he rolled into the ring and they did a quick roll-up finish, and it was a very it was a very disappointing finish to this match because it had been so good up until that point. But it seems that Shunma is injured now. What do you guys think about this, Dylan?
It's such a shame because this was such a great match. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought this was so good. One of the best hardcore type of matches I can remember in DDT. I thought these guys really laid it all on the line. Great creativity as you would expect with a Shunma match. I mean, he's right at the top of the list of all of wrestling pretty much when it comes to in-ring creativity. The action was so strong.
Absolutely.
Okatani looked great. I think these guys were flowing and doing great things, and you just see them, and it's like, damn it, that finish really messed up
Yeah.
what was such a tremendous match, and now it's like it doesn't even matter. Like everyone's gonna go after the injury, but man, the match was so good before that, and we can only hope for the best for Shunma because man, this guy has been a really great piece of the roster. I think he's been a highlight all throughout the years. Like whatever has happened, I think he's been one of the absolute best guys they have, and I hope that he's okay and can keep these titles.
Yeah.
The battle of my heart. What can I say?
Yeah. I said before this match that this is the battle of Yannick's heart.
Yeah, beautifully put. This was way more of a death match than I thought.
Yeah.
I expected it to be like a Lego death match, more or less.
Yeah.
But there was no Lego. There was just thumbtacks and barbed wire.
And who knows? There might have been Legos later in the match if it had continued.
Yeah, absolutely. And skewers. Oh man. Shunma put the stack of skewers into Okatani's forehead, and he bled so much.
Yeah.
Immediately, he had a crimson mask immediately.
How great was that spot when Shunma stapled Okatani's portrait on his head?
Yes. Oh, it's my Twitter profile header now.
Nice.
And I was in love with this match, and the injury is very unfortunate. And Shunma didn't do the promoted autograph session after the show.
Yeah.
Because of his injury, and we just have to hope now. He was kind of standing on his own in the promo afterwards, where he just congratulated Okatani on the fight, and he said they should team up when Onita is back in DDT again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we'll see Shunma until then, or even if we'll see him then. And he's still the double champ. And if he loses the Extreme title, this match didn't count that much. It's V1, the first defense.
Yeah.
He now has the purple belt again, not the white one that Akiyama made.
Yeah.
But I fear for the tag run.
Yeah. So
maybe it's just like the ankle, rolled ankle, and he'll be back in like 2 weeks at the latest. But man, it could be way worse. And then the Shunmao run would end in a fashion that it just doesn't deserve.
Yeah, it will keep the curse of the tag titles going, which would be really bad because of course the last tag title run was Yoshimura and Higuchi, which ended when Yoshimura had to vacate it because he got injured, and of course he has just had surgery, so he's still making the recovery. So the thing about this is that it might we don't know the extent of Shunma's injury yet. It could always just be 2 weeks, or him taking like the month off until the defense, which right now they haven't said anything, they haven't canceled it or anything, but before the show they announced that at the DDT What Are You Doing? June Cork and Hall show on the 26th of June, there will feature a KOD tag title defense for Shunma versus To Be Decided, a team of To Be Decided, which they announced that before the show today. They haven't said anything about it being cancelled yet. I hope it doesn't get cancelled because that would mean that Shunma's injury isn't that bad. But I am prepared for it to maybe be cancelled if Shunma's injury is not good. And the thing is, they kind of teased because he talked they haven't translated exactly what he said, but he at one point in the post-match promo addressed Yuki Sakaguchi, and that got me thinking that maybe the next Shunma title defense is against Hideki Okatani and Yukio, which would be really cool. But yeah, what do you guys think about all this? Dylan, you haven't said anything.
I just think that if you're gonna do one, and you could easily see, like Yannik said, we can only hope for the best.
Yeah.
It's out of our control, but let's say he dodges a bullet with all this, and he could go just as anticipated, as expected, or whatever. You could easily see DDT maybe want to lighten the load a little bit and not have him as double champion anyway, if
Yeah.
this was a serious scare. And if that were the case, I would rather him lose the singles title, because I think that the tag title they've done such a great job that I wouldn't want it to end for, shady reasons. I wanted them to build to a serious ending, because I think the run has been so good. It's been such a bright spot of the year, and I think it kind of means a little bit more in the grand scheme of things.
But at the Korakuen, they can make at the June Korakuen, they can make Yukio and Hideki Okatani beating them a satisfying conclusion to the tag title, right?
That's true. It's not as big of a show as I would love to see them make it to Peter Pan as champion.
And I need them to make it to Peter Pan.
Yeah, it would be
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe they could, if he isn't ready, they just change it to like a number one contenders match, because it's 2 axes, so just make like a random number one contenders match and then do the defense on Peter Pan, which I certainly would prefer.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
And if you're going to take the titles off him, then what happens with Mao?
Yeah. The big thing about this is, of course, that Mao kind of needs the tag title reign because he isn't doing anything else but the tag title reign right now.
Well, he could, because if they had to vacate the tag titles, Shunma would have to vacate the hardcore title too. So they could always do like Mao going for that to avenge his friend.
Yeah, they could do that.
Or even if they don't vacate him, they might just want to take a bit off of Shunma's plate. If they get spooked a little bit by this injury, so to speak, they might pick one over the other. It was kind of what I was thinking. If something like that were to happen, obviously if he vacates them both, then yeah, that's totally different. But if they just say, okay, we need Shunma focused on one thing and not overworking himself with 2 title reigns at the same time, and maybe that's a plan anyway. Maybe who knows? Like you said, who's to say that they don't just lose the titles? And it was the plan all along. But for me, I personally hope that the tag title reign can continue more than anything. Even though I thought this was a great match before the injury, so good. If we're gonna get that, I think that adds a little bit of an edge to these DDT cards while still really fitting in with the vibe because of how Shunma is. So it's a tough call one way or the other. If they were to do that, maybe they could lose the titles and face each other on Peter Pan. Shunma versus Mao.
Either way, like I hope he's healthy. I hope this continues going, because I've always needed a big Shunma title reign with the Extreme title. Of him having just these kind of matches on the consistent basis, and I'm so into the Shunma reign also. So either it would be a blow if he had to vacate either title for me. But if I had to choose, vacate the Extreme title,
or not even vacate, just he loses, like one, they just want to pull it off his place, not just vacate, but you could go either way. And I think it's obvious that he's not going to be a double champion for very long, no matter what. Yeah, something's going to have to give, even if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk tag team contenders. Who do you have in mind? Well, Sondre, you already gave your take.
Yeah.
And Dylan.
Yeah.
Well, we know that Naomi's not ready to be back. He's still very much injured. besides that, you could do something, maybe Akiyama and Okada as a team, or Akiyama and Suzuki, perhaps. Like,
Yeah.
you need something for Akiyama.
And Akiyama and Suzuki would be so boring.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like that, there's not a lot of great options, to be honest with you. Like,
Naruki Doi and someone.
yeah, that's exactly who I was gonna say next. Like, Doi can bring in somebody, like an old DG buddy.
Also, I completely forgot about this. Because I just forgot about it earlier. But there was another injury in DDT this week, and it is also a blow, or it could be like a blessing in disguise for Kanon, maybe, because maybe when he comes back, he will come back under a different thing than Damnation TA. But Kanon is injured. It might take him out for a long time. I hope he gets well also. So best wishes to both Kanon and Shunma and Yoshimura, who should be back anytime soon, because I really miss Yoshimura. What about Daisuke Sasaki and MJ Paul going for the tag titles?
No,
Amy
thank
would
you.
be all over the place with that one.
Well, there are a few possible things. I'd quite like Yukio and Saki. Because they never really have teamed up.
Yeah.
And I want to see that. They could do like Sana Kamina versus Sana Kamina.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Shunma versus Ueno and Toy. That could be really cool.
Yeah, that could work. Your idea of Yusuke Okada and Yu Kuriku, I have always liked.
Yes.
That would be great if they want to elevate him. They just don't do
with Doi, he could bring Tanisaki as in the Junior Tag Battle of Glory. That would slap.
That would be cool. And also Higuchi right now, because of the main event, which we'll get to soon. Higuchi has no Peter Pan plans right now. Him and Yuki Ishida, or him and... No, wait! That is also something I forgot to mention. That we have new 6-man tag title champions on the Yuji Hino anniversary show. Harimao picked up the 6-man tag titles from Yukio Eno, Super Sasadango Machine, and Shin Aoki. So we have new 6-man tag title holders in Yuki Ishida, Higuchi, and Nakatsu. So
I haven't seen that match yet.
I also took a long time getting to that match, but I've seen it, and it was pretty good. That should also be mentioned, because now that might keep Higuchi away from the tag title scene also.
It's too bad. I love him and Nakatsu. I'm happy Nakatsu could get a title. I thought they had a really great match.
This should mean that we finally have a KOD 6-man title match on a pay-per-view again, which I'm really hyped about. Because we did that Judgment or Mega Max Bump.
And how could they leave off these prestigious 6-man titles? What a shame that was.
Yeah, what a shame.
So it would be all of Harimau versus all of Eruption.
That would be cool. That would be cool. They can do anything with the tag title scene. We don't know. In the end, I just hope that Shunma is healthy. But with that, we get over to the main event. King of DDT Grand Final. One-time winner, last year's winner, Kazusada Higuchi, trying to make it to become the first to go back-to-back, and to join Konosuke Takeshita, Harashima, and Kodo as a 2-time winner of the King of DDT. But he unfortunately failed because he faced Chris Brookes, who finally got a huge win with this final. And oh my god, all I have to say about this match is DDT match of the year so far. because this match was so great. It kept like the energy we talked about in the opening match with Higuchi being unstoppable, and then paired with what Brookes did in the second match on the show against Akiyama on working underneath. They clashed in this match in such a great way of Brookes just never giving up and always coming back in Higuchi, even though Higuchi was unstoppable. Higuchi was so like dominant. He was so no-selling. This match is so good. It is a match that I will probably go back to a lot during this year. But this is right now my favorite match in DDT this year. What did you guys think about this main event, Dylan?
This was a tremendous cap off to a really quality tournament, I thought. All of your points are so true. I thought Higuchi was absolutely phenomenal in this match. You know, one of the better performances from a singular wrestler that I can remember. I just thought, man, if you want to look up beast in the dictionary, you got to put Higuchi on the picture next to it, because he was a killer here. And it all served, as great as he was in the match, ultimately the match all served to make Brooks's win mean that much more in the end. And I thought it was so genius how they played it out.
Yeah.
You know, Brookes, like you said, worked pretty well as an underdog here. I thought they did a lot right here, and Higuchi was fantastic. Brookes totally lived up to expectation that you would have for him. There was some spots that maybe you could point to if you're not happy with the main event. Maybe you don't want Brookes to win, but they were few and far between, and the grand scope of the match was so good that there's no way you can't come. In my opinion, if you're a DDT fan and follower, this felt like an emotional win. Again, and I think it'll mean more if you followed DDT longer and followed Brooks' story more. I think you would get more out of it emotionally.
Absolutely.
And I have. And if you're, yeah, go on, Yannik.
You're so right. Well, because all of the negative points I've seen about this match come from people that don't watch DDT. And that's mostly because they don't like Brookes. Which they're totally crazy for. But when this match makes so much sense. Because both of the guys, it was a totally different match than any of the semifinals.
Yeah.
But both took their storylines or the points they had in the semifinals and brought it into this match, which was a pretty new matchup.
Yeah.
Ueno and Higuchi were totally familiar with each other, and Ueno started to take away Higuchi's arm. And, Chris had to survive his semifinal against Akiyama. And here it was also the survival of Chris Brookes, and eventually he was able to take opportunity of that battered arm.
Yeah. And
man, it's a wild ride.
There is one match there is one point in this match where it picks up such a crazy momentum. And that is when they go outside, they brawl a bit, and they come over to this like barricade door that is on the stands that kind of separates the seating in Cork and like the elevated. You've seen people go up the stairs all the time. You saw Himeka run up those stairs in her retirement match. But there is this like detachable door that first like Chris slams it on the arm that was worked over by Ueno in the opening match, and then he takes it off the hatch and he throws it at Higuchi, really like a chair, and Higuchi sells it. Like he just takes it. It's such a crazy spot because Higuchi takes this big metal plate just to his head, and then ends up chopping that plate after getting hit by it 2 times in a row. And it's such like awesome moment for Higuchi because he's such an unreal performer, and there's no one that does this kind of style in wrestling. There's no one that does this kind of no-selling that Higuchi does, and it's so engaging, it's so fun. It is Tomohiro Ishii if Tomohiro Ishii was in a big main event stage and not just having good matches during the G1 and on the undercards. It is so important. It is so fun to see. I love it. Higuchi is one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, and I'm still happy that Chris Brookes won, because Higuchi had this time last year. He had this run last year. On a match sense, Higuchi's reign was so good and so like memorable, but on the business sense, it wasn't that successful. They didn't have any like huge draws and stuff like that. So maybe, just maybe, they are trying to create something here with Chris Brookes and with this match, and they are trying something new. They are trying to get a wrestler to elevate a wrestler up to the main event scene that they haven't elevated up to the main event scene yet, to see if he can get butts in seats, which will be an interesting test for Chris Brookes. And in this match, I think he proved that he's more than up for the challenge.
You know, I just look at it, and I remember last week, I thought Brookes would win, honestly. Like, and I listened to you guys, and you guys make great points, and you kind of talked me out of it, and I went with Higuchi at the end, but I think it was the right decision. Like, ultimately, I would have done the same thing if I, ran the company. The company, you mentioned Higuchi's reign, yes, and even after Higuchi's reign, I mean, this Hino reign is just a dud to me. Like, there's no buzz to it at all. Like, his title reign doesn't mean anything to anybody, I feel like. They needed a spark and to do something different than what they've been doing. And I think Brookes is the one that represents that the most. We've seen Higuchi last year, Akiyama, obviously. You want him to get there, but he hasn't really been built up that well. And you could argue that Brookes wasn't exactly pushed. It's not like this was the dramatic ending that everyone could see coming going into the tournament.
It's a shock.
But yeah, in a reasonable way, though. Yeah. And somebody who, listen, I get it if you're not a fan of his wrestling. I'm not here trying to tell you that he's this flawless wrestler that everyone should love. But he is a guy, if you look at his run, he's improved considerably as time has gone along in DDT. Yeah. And obviously, maybe not to the same scale as Cardona, but he is an excellent, excellent self-promoter on social media, as well as being a great representative for the company itself to English-speaking audiences. So you get that little bonus there as well. They're going to get a lot of hype online through this, I think. A lot of the fans, the foreign fans, are really going to be into this. I think it makes perfect sense. I think it was the right call. And I think that he has improved enough to where he deserves a shot at it. And I think anybody winning would be an improvement over what we have at the moment as champion.
Okay, so I need to mention something just really quick. There was, during the pandemic, or it was like early in 2022, while the pandemic was still going, this YouTuber called CDog dropped this great documentary of
I loved
him trying to become a pro him just trying out what professional wrestling in Japan is. And he visited the DDT dojo. And the man he trained with the most during that was Chris Brookes, of course, because Chris Brookes is the English speaker on the roster. He probably, all of why CDog got that whole YouTube video to work is probably because Chris Brookes helped him get that to happen. And there was a friend of mine that doesn't watch any wrestling, but he knows who this YouTuber is. He saw that video and he asked, "What is this Chris guy doing in DDT? What is his status? What is his how big of an important role is it? And this was 2022, and like at that point, Chris was just the tag team wrestler with Masahiro Takanashi. He's the guy that goes and does a lot of freelancing, but also is in the tag division. And my friend asked, shouldn't he be more like elevated? Shouldn't he be in more important stuff, because he's obviously a guy that brings in a lot of international viewers. And I've thought about that a lot, and I kind of forgot about it. But now I'm just reminded of that, because DDT needs a like international wrestler that is over with. They need a like gaijin that can work in Japan but still be over internationally, and bring in new viewers to the product by promoting himself, because he speaks English and he can go on podcasts and all that stuff. He can go and he can have like interviews way better than Japanese wrestlers can have, and all that. And I think DDT long has needed someone that can be like an international draw, and that is what they are trying to do with Chris Brookes now. And they are finally strapping the rocket to his back and saying, "What can you do? Can you? How will this go?" Of course, we are just 2 hours or 3 hours ago since the match happened, so we don't know how it's going yet. The Twitter, like back the aftermath of this on Twitter, at least in my bubble, has been very positive. A lot of people are saying that this is their DDT match of the year, the best DDT match they've seen this year, and all that. And everyone that watches DDT, like a lot of people are replying that this felt like the right moment, and this felt like Brookes' win. And it does.
You know, Sondre, we talked about it last week, and I kind of made a similar point. You know, they're at a point in their lifespan of the DDT as a company. You know, if you think about it from like the boring sense, you know, the business sense or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe what the fans want and what you want to do to grow are two different things. And with this move, they doubled down on DDT, you know, like the spirit of DDT and the fans that they have there, because this is a move for the fans, like of DDT. Yeah. At the end of the day, like they basically told us with this win that they don't. It is a different thing and a different story, but Brookes is a DDT wrestler through and through. Like there's no question about that. Nobody would deny that. So I think it showed a little bit of courage actually to do this, just from the company's perspective. You brought in something, and that's why you see a lot of the dedicated fans online. This was seen as a super emotional win for a lot of these people that have followed the journey.
I got
emotional. Even you got emotional, yeah.
But like my fandom of DDT started during the pandemic, and that's because, and like it started during the pandemic, and during the pandemic was when we saw Chris Brookes get like better and better, because like I remember seeing a couple of indie matches of him during before the pandemic, which he didn't really stand out to me. He was just a Brit wrestler. Yeah, and exactly. Then like during the last couple of years, he has just gotten so much better and better with like each time I've seen him, and the tag run with Masahiro Takanashi has been so good. It is a run that was so good, that has been worked so well for him and gotten him so over. Then we of course have the great singles match with Takeshita that might be the singles match he had up till this match today, which I think is his best singles match ever today. And yeah, I'm so happy that they are trying this. And what do you want to say?
I just think that it's a great thing overall. He's a guy that could do anything you want him to do. You know, he could do, matches like this with Higuchi, the Takeshita matches you mentioned. He could do comedy matches if you want him to do more comedy stuff. Yeah. He could go into the hardcore range if you want him to do extreme stuff. He's proven a tag run. You mentioned that as well. He's proven that he can be whoever DDT needs him to be, and along with the social media stuff that we mentioned before, I don't see any negative from it. Again, if you're a DDT fan, and I think, like I said, this was like a statement from the company that they are doubling down on who they are and who they have been.
Yeah. And after match, he of course didn't speak English. He had a promo in Japanese where he said that he's living his dramatic dream right now, but it's not over yet because he is going to take the KOD Openweight title. And yeah, that is the most likely the main event of Peter Pan Sumo Hall. Chris Brookes versus Yuji Hino. That is a shocking. Like, no, we did this like prediction Q&A earlier this year. I don't think anyone saw Chris Brookes versus Yuji Hino being the main event of Peter Pan. But that is where we are right now. Yannik, do you have anything to say?
I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
It's
a big
also
yeah.
just a big reward for what he has done and what he continues to do for DDT. He's a total asset. And I'm surprised that this comes now. But I wish probably it would have come earlier. It's just like it's an elevation of status that I really support, and I think he will crush it.
How great was that finishing stretch when he like had him in the armbar there, the like
stretch.
Yeah, man, what a great finish. And yeah, very rewarding for a guy that stayed loyal throughout the pandemic. Didn't go home, just stayed with them and worked with them when they probably needed roster members, which is awesome. I don't know what more we can say about this match. Go watch it. It is seriously one of the best matches this year, and I'm not kidding. I'm not being biased there. But then some last DDT news is that they announced some upcoming stuff, which we'll talk about now. On June 3rd in Yokohama, Mei Suruga is making her DDT debut. That should be mentioned. June 5th, Korakuen KOD tag title match, of course. July, if it happens, we don't know, but that they announced that. July 1st, Nick Wayne is finally coming to DDT, and the first match he's gonna have is gonna be the match that he was supposed to have on the Megamax Bump show, where he's teaming with Takeshi Masada versus Yuki Ueno and Yune. That is going to be in Yokohama Radiant Hall, I think. And then, of course, July 23rd, Wrestle Peter Pan. The announced matches so far is just Daisuke Sasaki versus El Desperado. And the supposed main event, we don't know if it's not been announced yet, but I would think that it's going to be that Chris Brookes versus Yuji Hino.
There's another match announced, and Dylan loves it.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him about it, but it's let's see that I don't make a mistake. It's Pokotan and Cheetan.
Yes.
Versus Andresa, Giant Panda, and Super Sasadango Machine.
Yeah. So that's going to happen on Wrestle Peter Pan also. I remember that.
That's going to be a hoot. I mean, what a great match. You get Andresa and Pokotan in the same match. I mean, this is a dream match of the making, right now. Sasadango Machine, why not? I say throw him in there too. I am all about the mascot division of DDT. I need to see more of it. We all need to see more of it, and I can't wait for that match. I'm very hyped for that tag.
Hell yeah. So DDT right now is entering a very cool period. Like this tournament was such a great success for me as a fan, because I'm so hyped about DDT again that I wasn't after Mega Max Bump. And I am so looking forward to the rest of the build to Wrestle Peter Pan. I hope Shunma is healthy enough to have a match at Wrestle Peter Pan. So we'll hope for that. Whatever this Daisuke Sasaki and El Desperado story is going to be, I don't know. Whatever this Tetsuya Endo and Matt Cardona match is going to build is going to be, I don't know. Is Matt Cardona going to show up on the road to Wrestle Peter Pan? Maybe. Or will the first time we see him be at Wrestle Peter Pan? We don't know. And Yuji Hino also could defend the title between now and Wrestle Peter Pan, but they haven't announced that. And my idea of him versus Yuki Okabayashi is not happening. Because Okabayashi basically just did that tag match at this anniversary show and then left.
I don't think it's impossible he doesn't drop that title before Peter Pan, though. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I wouldn't count it out.
Who, though? Who?
Well, that's the problem. We don't know who. But like I said, I mean...
Takeshita?
They probably wish that could happen. You know, it depends on what would happen in AEW with that. I don't think it'll be him.
Yeah.
But like I said, Hino's just so cold as champion. You know, at this point, I guess if you're at this close,
They have
you might as
2
well
months. They have
Yeah.
exactly 2 months until Peter Pan. If they are going to do it, they have to announce who's going to defend it against.
Yeah, just next month if they announce a title match at a bigger show, I wouldn't completely write it off. I mean, it's hard for me to predict a title match going into the Peter Pan show. You know, a title challenge rather, or a title change rather. But I wouldn't write it off. Is all I'm saying. He hasn't impressed in the DDT run as champion, and I think I respect him a lot as a wrestler. He's just not a good fit for a DDT champion.
Yeah, we'll see.
He doesn't feel like a Peter Pan main eventer. Let's put it that way. Like Brookes feels way more worthy of a main event this year in Peter Pan than Hino does, in my opinion.
I agree there. Yannik too. And Yannik, you are of course going to Peter Pan. So I'm sure you're hoping. Would you be fine with Yuji Hino versus Chris Brookes being the main event?
You're probably getting
it's hard to be it's pretty hard to be excited for the main event with Hino.
It will be an epic title change though. Like
I do think that
it would also be DDT to just not do the title change.
Yeah. You can't have Hino standing tall at Peter Pan. That's not gonna happen.
I think that would be very bad.
It would be very DDT.
But the King of DDT traditionally wins at when he challenges. There are very few times people have actually lost in the title challenge, and it's traditionally at Peter Pan. So we'll see. Either way, this DDT right now is entering a very hot period that I'm very excited about, and we'll of course keep you updated here on Dramatic Dream Dragons. There will be no Dragon Gate talk this week. We'll talk more about that next week. I just want this show to just be King of DDT.
Right.
So next week we will talk about all the stuff that has happened in Dragon Gate, which is surprisingly a lot because they of course had three shows in Sapporo this weekend, and one of them happened like one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one today. I haven't seen the one from today, but I recommend everyone to go out and check out the main event from both night 1 and night 2 in Sapporo. So at the Dragon Gate Network. But until then, we are now on YouTube because this is going to be the first episode with a new intro. So we are now on YouTube, so you can find us on YouTube, where you can also find all the other 5-star podcasts on the YouTube, which is the Pure Gems, Stardom Quest, and Wrestle Update with Dylan and Scott. And yeah, well, it is. I hope people enjoy our show, because we have now made it to 20 episodes, and it is such a fun time for us. And yeah, any last thing you guys want to say before I close the show?
Watch
You know,
GoPro.
Watch Gone Pro is always the message that you give, Yannik. Will you ever change it up?
No.
Not if every one of you guys watches GoPro.
He needs the entire planet Earth to watch Gone Pro. No matter where you're at in the world. No matter even if you like wrestling. Maybe even outside of the world. If you're an alien, listen to this. Mars. All of them. All the planets. All of the comets in the Sailor Senshi. We need all of them to watch Gone Pro before you change. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure about that. For me, I listen to my other shows. Sondre mentioned one, Wrestle Update. Me and Scott Edwards. Man, what a great time that's been. The last episode we did was a lot of fun. We talked about all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the world of American wrestling. There was some silliness this week with something you guys may have heard of, may know about. Maybe some people don't know about, but we talk about it a lot on there. We go over everything. And then you have my other shows, Eastern Lariat, which is me and Striga. That's on Cage Match as well. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. We did a show about the best of Super Juniors. On there, you have my Patreon, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. I just uploaded some stuff, or not uploaded, but posted my writing for the match of the month of April. And me and Sondre have talked about Best of Super Juniors as well on the Patreon. It's a lot of fun going over that tournament. And there's going to be more stuff to come with All Together coming up soon. I've got some plans coming forward as well for various things. The Japanese wrestling scene is so hot and active right now, with great wrestling, different styles, everything going crazy. It's a lot of fun for everybody out there. And do want to give a little bit of a plug for my third show that I have as well, Lucha Talk, which just came back after a 2-year hiatus. There, we've got some really great compliments after coming back after so long. Very much a vibe show this last episode. It's not like we're going to catch up off 2 years, but the lucha scene is really cool right now too. CMLL is doing some awesome stuff. AAA had the announcement with Omega and Vikingo having their rematch at Triple Mania in June. We're going to cover that when the time comes, but that's more of a monthly show. It's not every week, so it's a little bit older. But still, I recommend everybody checking it out because we talked about pretty much everything, had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And other than that, keep listening to Dramatic Dream Dragons and all the great shows on 5 Star Network. Really appreciate all the work out there of all the people hosting the other shows, all of the writing going down, and most importantly, all the listeners out there for taking the time to listen to us and making this show worth it in the end. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, another thank you I have to say is thank you to everyone that replied to my tweet about your takes on the show, because I want to do that often for all of the DDT and Dragon Gate shows we cover on this show, is to do like an instant review, what is you guys, the listeners, thoughts about the show, so I can look at that while we're recording and kind of get back in, so I know the feel of how everyone else is feeling about the show and stuff like that. So thank you to everyone that replied to my tweet after the show today, and keep coming back to that and coming back to my tweets about the shows in the future. But until next week, I truly hope that everyone goes out of their way and watches the Hanakamura Memorial Show, Pinks, on May 23rd. But until then, and until our next recording, as always, be ready, wake up, and go!